Alright guys, so this is the build right here. We're going to be using our Praxic Blade and Strongholds for Titans, but we're not going to be holding block the whole time, okay? So we're just using Strongholds for the on-demand resto ×2, and we're going to use that so that we can be super aggressive with our Praxic Blade. We're not just sitting there holding block. So for our Praxic Blade, you're going to want to have the offensive form. This gives us really good ammo regeneration. It doesn't require us to get any kills to get ammo. It doesn't require us to block anything to get ammo. Just attacking will get you ammo. And obviously it increases our damage against bosses, which is huge. Forceful Blade, I just use this one because it improves impact, but any one of these would work. With Strongholds, you don't need anything for guard or charge rate. And really, we're going to have infinite ammo, so you don't need the ammo mod. So I just run Impact, because that's really the only one that's left that's even kind of doing anything. Impact Core, of course, because we want to get Bolt Charge whenever we're hitting enemies. And then Hyper Blade gives us two things. It gives us Amplified for some extra damage resistance, and also it gives us that extra sword swing range. So our lunge distance is greatly increased. For your stats, you want to get as high weapon as you can. I can only get to 175 with my current armor setup, but it still feels pretty good. If you can get to 200, that would probably be preferable. For class, we do want a little bit of class, so at least 100 just for our suspend. Super, if you can get it to 100, that's great. I just can't with my current stat setup. And then we want grenade for the grenade regen as well. And realistically, with super, you're going to have your super a lot anyway, just because of how much energy this generates. So you don't really need a high super stat. But if you want the extra damage, you could go with a higher super. Of course, we are running Strongholds. And then we'll go over the subclass. So we're running Thunder Crash just because we want the Arc subclass for Bolt Charge. We're using Thruster because we want to take advantage of Drengers. And it has a really low cooldown. Jump, you can use whatever you want. Melee, again, you can use whatever you want. I just prefer Shiver Strike for the extra movement. Grenade, we're running our Pulse Grenade because we want that Arc Grenade for Overload champs. But we're also going to be pairing this with Unbreakable. So with Unbreakable, you're going to hold your grenade to create that shield, but we're not going to be releasing our grenade to blast enemies with it. We're just using Unbreakable so that we can animation cancel and proc our Weaken and Devour from the artifact. Faceted Domination, of course, so that we can have our Arc Grenades jolt targets. Faceted Protection for the extra damage resistance, and while we're Transcendent, we get even more. Facet of Hope, so when we have an elemental buff, our class ability regenerates more quickly, which will have elemental buffs quite often. We'll have Amplified from the Praxic Blade. We're also going to have Devour up, so your class ability is going to come back a lot. Orb of Power, so Facet of Purpose gives us extra Bolt Charge whenever we pick up an Orb of Power. Facet of Grace, we get a lot of Transcendent energy from the Praxic Blade, and obviously we're giving it to our teammates too if they are using Prismatic. And then Facet of Courage just to bump up that just to bump up our super a little bit more. I think it's 10% extra damage. So, and we use Drenger's Lash to proc this. You could also use Submersion, like a Stasis Crossbow, but it's up to you. So Praxic Blade's all that matters, Strongholds, and then that class setup. We're going to go over our mod setup now. For our helmet, I'm running a Kinetic Siphon with 2 dynamos. Kinetic Siphon will give us Orbs of Power that we're killing enemies with our Praxic Blade. Dynamo is going to reduce our super cooldown when using our class ability near targets, which we're using our Drenger's Lash Thruster to suspend a lot of enemies. We're going to have that pretty often, so I think this is a good mod to run. For our arms, we're going to run a Firepower to get the extra orbs from grenade kills, because once we have Devour procced, we're going to be throwing Pulse Grenades like crazy. And so then we're also using Bolstering Detonation to help get our class ability back even faster, just for more super regen. Obviously with the chest, you can run whatever resist mods you want. You don't really need extra armor stacks, or armor charges, sorry. For our legs, I'm going to run 1 recuperation just for that extra healing. Whenever you pick up an Orb of Power, we're going to be making those quite often. And then I run 2 kinetic surges. That's just going to pump our Praxic Blade up even more. So this is huge. And then for our class item, I'm using Powerful Attraction to pick up all those orbs of power every time we use our thruster. Also distribution, so this is reducing all our ability cooldowns when using your class ability in your target, so it's just, increasing that loop to get all our abilities back. And then, of course, every time we use our thruster, our next weapon final blow is going to spawn an orb of power. So just a lot of orbs here, good regen on abilities, and then more super regen because we're going to have our thruster a lot more often. Here are the artifact mods you want to run. Of course, your champ mods, you can run whatever you want, but realistically, you're not going to need them with this build. This build is meant to deal with all champs using abilities on its own. The Praxic Blade is the only weapon we're using to deal with the champion, and that's for anti-barrier. Elemental Siphon. So this is going to give us more bolt charge because we're getting kills with the Praxic Blade, and that matches our super. The Voltaic Charge. While we have an Arc or Void super equipped, it increases our max stacks of armor charge. We're using that for the Kinetic Surges. Kinetic Synthesis, which creates those white ammo bricks, so that's great. It gives us extra ammo, but you won't need it for the blade. This is more for your other weapons. Power from Pain, we're using that to proc Devour when we kill weakened enemies. Singularity Blade, so when we have a Void Element debuff, or a Void Element buff, melee and sword hits weaken targets, so that's what we're going to use our Unbreakable for. We're going to animation cancel that to get our Void Overshield, which then lets us proc Weaken, which then lets us proc Devour. Argent Blade is just to give us the extra sword damage. Void Infestation spreads that Weaken to other enemies, so that again pairs with Unbreakable. So once we kill that first enemy, it will spread that weakening to another enemy, so we don't have to continuously use Unbreakable to proc Weaken. Sword Storm combo, of course, for the swirling blades around us that just do extra damage, and kills extend these. And then Dielectric, at defeating arc debuff targets grants bolt charge. So once we have Devour, we can start throwing our pulse grenades a lot more, and that's going to obviously jolt targets, and that will give us orbs as well for healing and more bolt charge. So we get a ton of bolt charge with this build. Warden of Nothing. This is negative 50 power, so we're going to use the build here. I'm going to show you guys what it can do. So let's take a look. See what this build can do.
I thought you might come back here. Well, with your buddy getting laid out. You looking for some closure?
Escaped prisoners are destabilizing the reef. Head back to finish the job.
Noble. Let me run tactical for you. I've scoped the place out already. You want to stem the chaos, you'll have to take out the warden's servitor. Things gone crazy.
Prison of Honor welcomes.
Alright, so this is basic loop. You can proc Perfect Guard, as you can see on the left with Strongholds. The higher you proc it, the higher or the longer your resto will last. I usually don't proc it this high, just to show you how it works. As soon as you do any damage, you get resto. There'll be 16 seconds if you're at Perfect Guard times 100. So what I normally do is hold this, hold Unbreakable. That gives you a Void Overshield. And now that we have a Void Overshield, we're going to proc Weaken whenever we hit an enemy. When you kill that enemy, the Weaken will also spread to other enemies. We use our Arc Grenades to stun overloads. You can see how fast our grenade comes back. We already have our grenade again. So there we go. Use Unbreakable to proc Weaken. This Hydra dies super quick for being negative 50. So our Unstop, we can stun them with Drenger's Lash. Go ahead and proc Weaken again. What we can also do is use your Transcendent Grenade if you need to. That will stun Unstops as well. So you have two ways of dealing with Unstops and Overloads, and then of course barriers. You're just gonna use your Praxic Blade for those. You can also see in the bottom left how much ammo I'm generating with Offensive Form. you will never need ammo for your Praxic Blade as long as you are completing, you know, hits on enemies. Which is really nice to not have to worry about ammo. It turns your Praxic Blade into your primary, but a lot better damage. So we can unstop again, so we'll stun him with Drenger's Lash. Gonna proc Weaken on them. Remember, Sword Storm combo also disorients. Proc Weaken again. We got our Devour proc now. So I got a little weak here, so I'm just gonna proc Resto. Go right back into attacking. We've got Devour, so every enemy we hit right now with our Praxic Blade is getting weakened, and that's spreading it to other enemies as well. Once this build gets rolling, which doesn't take a lot to get it started, you're going to be constantly weakening, you're going to be constantly healing with Devour, and you're going to have grenades all the time. I really, really enjoy this build. Obviously, we're getting Bolt Charge as well. So constant Devour, constant healing, constant grenades, constant Bolt Charge. Really high uptime on Transcendence, and good super regen. So I'm getting a little low here. I'm just going to proc Resto from Strongholds. Sometimes the Praxic Blade doesn't swing where I want it to. Let this train go by. Let's get Devour going again. I don't know if we'll kill this guy fast enough. Got a little low, so proccing Resto again. And Resto will proc off of the deflex from Praxic Blade, so you don't have to swing at an enemy to proc your Resto. You can also block stomps from bosses. It kind of turns the game into like Dark Souls or Elden Ring, right? You gotta learn when to block and then when to attack. But it's really fun. Alright, see our weaken spread to another enemy, so I just chase that little ball around. And now we've got Devour. I really want to get rid of this explosive barrel, but maybe we're far enough away that it doesn't matter now. pop Transcendent here, just because there's 2 unstops. Stun them both. So remember, our class ability comes back very fast because we have the Void Overshield from Unbreakable, we have Resto from Strongholds. All of those are attributing to our class ability coming back faster because we have an elemental buff. We did proc Devour right there, but we're leaving anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Round 1. Kill them.
Alright, we got a little low. Let's proc Resto. Got a little low, proc Resto. And that's what I love about this build too, is that you can be really aggressive even when you're getting shot by stuff.
They are dead. You are not. Round 2. Dismantle mines, yes. Or
So this is why I also like Strongholds. This is the only time when I will hold Strongholds just for blocking, is when you're doing an objective, right? Like, I have to stand in this circle. So if the enemies aren't coming to me and I need to complete an objective like this one that's timed, I'm just going to use Stronghold to block that fire so I can finish the objective and then I can go back to killing. You could throw your sword if you wanted to, but you got to be really careful about that. If you throw it at the wrong time, you're going to die. So we're just going to go over here. So I need to back up into this circle again. So I threw my pulse grenade, so we're gonna pop Transcendence. Use our prismatic grenade instead. That will stun this overload. Getting a little low. Gonna proc perfect guard and we go right back to attack.
mighty Cabal challenges.
Hey, shiny.
You fought. You won. Your treasure awaits.
Alright, so the boss room's coming up next. I've already done this once with this build, but this boss room's pretty easy.
Looks like the trickster left you a present.
The only thing you gotta watch out for is, of course, the boss's like fire attack that hits the whole arena. You can't block that. So for those types of things, you have to kind of still work within the limits of the boss fight. But other than that, we can just go up to him and smack the crap out of him. So I'm just gonna proc Resto so I can keep killing this guy, even though this other guy's shooting at me. So that's all three champs right now at the same time. I think there's 2 barriers, 1 overload, and an unstop. Got a little... Killed by the architects. Not sure what killed me there. So you can still die if you're just... I should have procced Resto earlier there.
An old friend is here. Judgment at hand.
You can block this attack though. So we're just gonna proc weaken. That was risky, but it worked. So this attack right here. Wait, can we block it? Oh. We can.
Cabal vehicles.
It's interesting. Just gonna block that to proc Resto. Go ahead and weaken him.
Cabal vehicles.
So we're getting a little weak. Just gonna proc resto. That's it. He's dead.
Thanks for your help out here, Chosen One.
Alright guys, so that's the build. We got an A rank. So that's pretty good for our reward, especially being solo. We did it under the time limit as well, obviously, 21 minutes. So yeah, I hope you guys like the build. I love this build. I think it's a lot of fun. If you guys ever want to swing by Twitch, we're live over there on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. We do things like dungeon helps, just playing Crucible, all those types of things. So everybody have a great day, and I will see you next time. Take it easy.